Energy groups sue Biden admin for failing to hold oil, gas lease sales again. Now we hear Biden come out saying, "Oh, I got all these oil releases and all this other stuff," but in actuality, compared to what Trump was doing, it's way less. And he got so much red tape, so much regulatory stuff that they aren't able to produce like they were producing under Trump. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here, and there's a link to my Instagram as well. All right, let's talk about this news. A pair of energy industry groups filed a lawsuit Monday alleging the Biden administration has failed to comply with federal law that requires it to periodically auction off land for oil and gas drilling. The Western Energy Alliance and the Petroleum Association of Wyoming argued in the suit that the Department of the Interior was in violation to the Mineral Leasing Act, which requires quarterly onshore oil and gas lease sales. The groups also criticized the administration for signaling in November that it won't hold any onshore sales until mid 2023. Now, this flies in the face of everything that's coming out the actual mouth of the president. He's saying, "Oh, we got all these leases, all this other stuff," but he's not saying, "No, we're not really doing any sales until mid 2023, not even the start of 2023, sometime in the mid 2023." And it's all because of his climate policy, which he's trying to get rid of regular energy that we're using today, which would destroy our country. Quote, "The Mineral Leasing Act is clear. The Interior Secretary must hold at least quarterly lease sales in every state where there's an interest, where there is interest as reflected by nominations," Kathleen Sigma, the president of the Western Energy Alliance, said in a statement. Quote, oil and natural gas companies have nominated millions of acres in Wyoming and across the West that have yet to be offered for sale. Not only has the administration held only one set of lease sales in its first 2 years, but has now signaled that there will be no sales until second quarter 2023. A full year later, she continued, quote, "Once a year does not equal quarterly." That's true. See how you playing these games? The DOI held its first onshore oil and gas lease sales throughout several western states in June, including one in Wyoming, after failing to hold any such sales over the course of its first 18 months. Group like the Western Energy Alliance and Paul, which represents oil and gas drilling companies, and Republican lawmakers have argued such leases are vital to ensuing U.S. energy independence. And that's the point. Why do you think that's the point? Why do you think he's doing these leases and stuff and making these deals with other countries like Venezuela? You know, and he was back in the second pipeline over there in Russia, and instead of doing stuff here in our own country so we can remain independent like we were under Trump, because he's trying to destroy our economy, and that's why he's doing all this. Overall, during its nearly 2 years in office, the Biden administration has leased just 61,251 acres of public land for oil and gas drilling, far less than previous administrations. By comparison, the Trump administration had leased 478,420 acres during his first 12 months. I mean, that's just wild. Look at the comparison there. Quote, "The federal government owns more surface and minerals in Wyoming than every other owner combined," Peter Obermuller, the president of the PAW, said in a statement. "This level of federal control over a state's activities and economic health requires an administration that is not only professional and efficient, but willing to follow the law in the first place." So that's a huge shot right there, basically saying that the Biden administration is not following the law, and we're paying for it now. We're paying for it now. It's going to get even worse with oil prices. But, quote, Wyoming oil and gas operators must have a pipeline of new leases to continue to explore and develop our world-class resources, Albermuller added. One lease sale a year does not cut it, and unfortunately, court intervention appears to be the only recourse in forcing the Biden administration to respect rule of law. We all know the leftists do not respect the rule of law. What they cannot win in votes and debates, they just ignore. They just ignore. So that's what they're doing there. They're just ignoring the laws that's on the book. They're doing what they want to do. They're ruling by fiat. Meanwhile, the Biden administration has opted to turn to a Middle East oil cartel led by Saudi Arabia and Venezuela for oil production and to combat high gasoline prices. Republicans and energy groups have slammed President Biden for seemingly prioritizing international oil production over domestic production. And that's what I've been saying since he's been in office, since he first started. He's been putting a global interest ahead of our own interests here in the United States. Quote, rather than buttressing up dictators, President Biden could tell his agencies to back off increasing red tape meant to suppress American production so that we can do more to reduce high energy prices for the country and the world, Sigma added. So yeah, we'll see what's gonna come of this. I think the environmentalists own Biden, China own Biden, the Middle East own Biden. So all these people own Biden, and all these people interests will never come before our own interests. So you will see him doing things to help out the global community before he helped America here first. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.